Call the meeting to order. All those that can, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Right. Roll call, please.
All board members are present.
Okay, first item is, can I get somebody to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Ms. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, check your mics down there. Feedback. All right, next item is the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for approval?
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any questions? All right, vote please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Ms. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next item is announcements and information inquiry. Township office will be closed Monday, September 4th in observance of Labor Day. The farmers market, if anybody has noticed, is booming on Saturdays. That's at Milford Road and M59 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Sounds like summer concert series has been going very well. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, we've got a Tom Petty cover band. Okay, next item is public comment. Public comment, anybody? Yes, ma'am, first. Come up to the mic, please.
Before I begin, I have some pictures that will help with my presentation. Can I approach so I can give you the pictures?
Name and address, please.
Deanne Croth, 3165 Beaumont Drive.
Speak into the mic.
Deanne Croth, 3165 Beaumont Drive.
Okay.
So before I begin, I have photos that will help with my presentation. May I approach so I can give you the photos and you pass them?
Sure.
I have been a proud township resident here for 27 years in Highland Township. And I've never needed the township during this time, except for recently. However, the one time I needed the township, they failed me. Since July of last year, I sent photos documenting problems with my neighbor's new fence to the Township Ordinance Department. My neighbor put up a fence that has a gap at the bottom of the fence that exceeds 8 inches off the ground in spots, and that gap expands more than 20 feet in length. The neighbor then backfilled the fence line with dirt, asphalt, rocks, mulch, and other debris that started washing onto my property immediately. This truth is fully documented with the photos I submitted back in 2022, and the washout continues to this day on my property. The ordinance department has been to my property and sent 2 letters to the neighbor citing 3 violations. On June 16th, the ordinance officer and the neighbor came to my property to show her what was happening, and she still refused to correct the violations. The ordinance officer told the neighbor the township was going to issue her a ticket and they were going to take her to court. 2 days later, Mr. Hamel, township supervisor, appears at the neighbor's property and walks her backyard. He never came to my home to see how my property is affected by the violations. The next day, Monday, June 19th, the ordinance department emailed me to tell me the township attorney has decided this would have to be settled in a civil case between me and the neighbor, and I should seek legal counsel. I've been trying to get answers since that email. 6 weeks ago, I delivered a packet of information to the township to forward to the attorney, and I asked, why would I have to seek and pay for legal counsel to have the township answer my questions? What changed to erase all the code violations previously recognized? Why won't the township enforce the ordinances on this neighbor? Is it because she works for the township at the fire department? Suspiciously, this looks like favoritism. I only want the fence gap to be corrected with a barrier at the bottom and this mess to be cleaned up. Honestly, you would want the same if this was your property. So I'm here to ask the township to please reconsider this position and to be respectful to make sure my property is represented too. I would prefer not to involve the courts against the township and the neighbor for something that can and should be taken care of quickly by the township enforcing their ordinance, doing their job without bias, and simply sticking to the facts. So I hope you will do the right thing and review and get back to me in 1 week with a positive response. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
I'd like to pass this around. This is an email from recent chats. Some of you guys know me, some of you don't. For those who don't know me, my name is Kevin Berger. Mr. Hamill, I've emailed with you several times as well as many of the board members in regards to my neighbor. My name's Kevin Berger. My address is 3145 Oak Ridge Drive, Highland, Michigan, 48356. I was a little dismayed when asking for help from the township. I too have had problems getting help from the township due to what seems like favoritism. I emailed Mr. Hamill an email several months ago in regards to my neighbor in a vehicle almost hitting someone in front of my house. I have video security footage of this incident. I sent it to Oakland County. I was told it was taken care of. It is not taken care of. Nothing that I have seen has happened with this incident. And this incident goes far back, all the way to 2018. I've sent video of him doing donuts in the middle of the street in a riding lawnmower. Who wants their kids playing in that kind of a neighborhood? I can't let my kids play in my front yard because of that. He peels out from his driveway every day. Eventually, he's going to fishtail it and hit somebody in front of my house. I'm not going to be held liable. I have been very patient. I too do not want legal action against the township or you, Mr. Hamill. I don't want that conflict. I want the township to do your duty to us citizens and just take care of the issue. I don't care if Sean likes me or not. I don't care if Sean likes my wife or not. We grew up in this neighborhood. We grew up in Highland Township. I graduated, my wife graduated from Lakeland. The township came out when my wife and I were both diagnosed with cancer. Now I'm suffering from a terminal lung disease related to my service in Iraq. And yet my neighbor's allowed to burn whatever he wants in his backyard that I have to continue to breathe in because no one wants to address it. Why? Would you want to breathe it in at your house? It's bad enough I was forced to breathe it in when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan. I was never in Afghanistan, but that's where the burn pits were also at. Now, I don't know if the LaPearl Mager family has connections to the township, and quite frankly, I don't care. Favoritism cannot be, it does not have a place in democracy. I'm all for democracy and I'm all for free speech. That's why I reached out to a free speech advocate, because sending me to the township lawyer as if I'm a criminal does not seem appropriate. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, we'll move on. Next item is a presentation of Kindness Matters by Nancy Branstetter.
Turn this way, right? Okay, I want to thank you all for giving me a few minutes to share with you some information about Highland Kindness, which is a kindness campaign that was launched in Highland Township the week of July 24th. And by way of background, I want to tell you about how this came about. I had an idea of, did a little research, and I took my idea for having a kindness campaign to the Township of Roundtable, Community Roundtable. They liked the idea. They said, let's go do it. And so here we are. We're on our way. And I have to thank the many people that have already lent their talents and time and ideas to this project. It's very exciting. So how does it work? It's really pretty simple. I just ask you as you're out, and I'm sorry, I'm turning my back on you guys. As you're out and about, just see what's going on around you. If you see someone changing a tire for someone or helping somebody across the street, make a note and tell us about it. Or better than that, if you are the recipient of an act of kindness, somebody that you don't know buys a cup of coffee while you're in line at McDonald's, or someone lets you into traffic. Please remember and tell us about it. That's Peter's favorite one. That's why I did that. And I like that too. But it's such a simple concept, and we can share all the wonderful things that are going on in the community, well, with our residents. What we are not looking for is, if you do something for someone, I'd like the person who receives the act of kindness to do the reporting, because that way they get a chance to say thank you. Now, we found a way to set up, I think a very easy way to set up a Facebook page, and so that you can tell your stories. So if you go to #Highland Kindness, and you could also put your information if you can't find that, but it will take you directly there in Highland Matters. Tammy, did I leave anything out with she's our social media expert there. Okay. Well, let me tell you about our first post, which was wonderful. There was a couple checking out at Calasantes, and they had this heart-stopping moment where their credit card was not working. And some lovely, kind lady came up and swiped, and she paid for the groceries. And the couple said, you know what, we're going to make a donation in this exact amount of money to community sharing. So I call that a win-win-win all the way around. But the idea is just to share the good stuff that's going on in our community with our residents. Now, as for businesses, they can contribute in many different ways, and depending on their culture and size. A larger business may want to have an ambassador of the month, perhaps somebody that did something nice for another employee, or just recognize them in the newsletter. Smaller businesses, well, they could just what they have done in other communities that have had these campaigns is post kindness quotes and in the business, just kind of encouraging kindness is appreciated here. We'd like all of our businesses to display our kindness campaign flyers so that they show their support, and also, of course, to report any acts of kindness that they see. We know that Highland is a wonderful community with lots of kind people, and they're trying to do something for one another. So someone held the door for you while you had your hands full of groceries. It could be a smile. It can be large or small, and you can post by leaving your name or just anonymous if you prefer that. So bottom line, while you're out, just kind of look around you, kind of retrain yourself. I've had to do that, just looking for things that are happening because they're there. And if you're lucky enough to have an act of kindness presented to you, please share it with us. Because I think we're off and running. I just need more people to hear about it. Without the newspaper, it's a little tough to reach everybody. So if you have ideas about that, I have spoken to a couple of groups, and everyone has been terrific. Everybody has been very responsive and positive. I have one last thing to ask. There is a Be Kind to Humankind Week coming up August 25th through the 31st. If anyone has any ideas how we might celebrate that, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear your thoughts now or sometime in the future. But I guess most important, do you have any questions? Nope. Okay. Thank you for your time. And I'm going to share these with you, with everyone here. All I did was just saying me grab my stuff here so you can go on. I'll just hand out these.
All right,
So thank you very much.
thank you, Nancy. All right. Moving on to pending business. First item is, we've got two components to it. The last board meeting, we talked about, how we might use the, opioid, money that, from the major lawsuit, against the pharmaceutical company that was accused of, and several companies, I suppose, but so in order to be able to use this, we had a suggestion or request from the Huron Valley Community Coalition, and they would like to have the opportunity to be able to receive these funds. So in order to do that, we have to do two things. We have to do a public purpose service contract. So the first item will be that we'll do here is, and I'll make a motion so we can. We have to approve it.
You can just do the resolution. Yep, yep. So just, yep, resolution.
Okay, so make it a one stepper then.
Yes.
This gets even easier. All right, so we talked about this quite a bit, I think, at the last meeting, so don't need to hammer any more information on that, but I'm gonna be proud to offer the motion to allow the supervisor, myself, to sign this resolution. Authorizing I guess Tammy signs it. You get to do it, Tammy, to approve the resolution. So motion to approve resolution number 23-21. The Charter Township of Highland resolution approving agreement with Huron Valley Community Coalition for opioid remediation activities permitted under the National Opioid Litigation Settlements.
Second.
Okay, moved. Motion and seconded. Vote, please. Any questions?
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Mr. Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, now in order to accomplish that, we have a budget amendment to move $10,000, which will be the amount that will be passed along to coalition. So somebody want to make a motion to approve the budget amendment?
I would move to approve the budget amendment as presented.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. All in favor?
Let's just do a roll call if you don't mind.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Roll call.
All right.
I've had too many other board meetings going on.
All in favor? Right. All right. Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so the next item is additional funding for the wayfinding signs. Every time we've taken a step on this thing, I'll try and handle this, Cassie. If there's anything that you want to add in, then you can add it in. So we had our sign designer and builder pretty much handling the requirements of this thing, and it came down to anything on MDOT's like M59 requires a completely different sign size, letters, a whole bunch of stuff. So what it did is the last meeting we had, we approved additional funding for the township to pay for signs that are on township property outside of the DDA district. So essentially what's happened is it's going to be an additional $5,500 because we've had to increase the size of the signs to 48 inches and, you know, add a second pole to each one of the signs. So I guess the ask is I'll make the motion to approve an expenditure of $5,500 to cover additional costs for wayfinding signs as per changes required by MDOT.
Support.
Got stereo. All right, any questions on that?
Could you remind me I guess I'm lost here.
A wayfinding sign?
Yeah, I understand finding our way, but
That was a
what,
pretty funny little,
which are in there. Okay, I got you. All right. Oh, those right. I got you. Okay. Yep. Never mind.
so that was perfect, Brian. You said you're lost here. This is what this is.
I am.
about.
All right. Thank you.
So we need a wayfinding
I
sign.
have
at the end
found
of the
my
day.
way. Thank you.
Okay, so any questions on that? Vote please.
Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, so
Can I ask a question since we're talking about signs? But first got on the board, I know it's real quick, but I know like our cross-country teams at Milford High School have been so successful. We've never gotten anything up. I know Coach Salyers was asking about it. And he kind of quit asking and we looked into it, but need to find a way, like a lot of communities do, somehow to promote these teams, whether it's on Milford Road towards the high school, or when we come in the township, because I mean, obviously Milford High School is in Highland Township. I don't know what the next step is. We like to something like to, I don't know where I start, but we need to look into this and see what we can do, because I know there's a cost involved, but you go down to Heartland, you turn on Old 23, there's a big sign there of all their accomplishments. It's pretty impressive. You go into Brighton, we've had a lot of state championships. It'd be nice to get that stuff promoted. I just don't know where to start. So maybe I just want to just get it out there that, he hasn't talked to me in years now about it. I think he probably figured it was a lost cause, but I think we need to really, as we're talking about signs here, we should probably
yeah,
figure out how we do this, either like I said, by Milford High School on Milford Road, something, I don't know, but I'm not sure, but we need to.
seeing as I hired this new assistant, we could probably pull some information together and you can
Okay.
come into our office and have a conversation on how you could help.
Yeah.
How's that
Sure.
sound, Cassie?
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
All
Sorry to
right.
deviate, but I just
No
thought.
problem. All right, so we did vote on it, didn't we? Yeah. The sign, yeah. Okay, the budget amendment, I need a motion to approve the $5,500 budget amendment.
I would move to approve the budget amendment for the wayfinding adjustment as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported, vote please.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, so the next item, new business, introduction of zoning amendment Z029. In short, what we're doing is our zoning administrator and our planning department are looking at things that come up to them that tend to seem maybe unduly regulated or maybe could stand a change in the ordinance. So there's a couple of items here that stand out. And in the packet, there's pretty much a detail of what's going on here, but there's basically several items. One is in agricultural ARR. There's been people that have wanted to do construction for maybe a new pole barn, and ARR is large, over 5 acres. And somehow the backyard setbacks were set at 100 feet. And there's been several individuals, one recently that had built a building on the old setbacks from 2008, which were 50 feet. And he wanted to add on to the building, but now he can't do it because the ordinance says 100 feet. So it's really kind of a knock against him for trying to do something that he had planned on a number of years ago, but just now getting around to it. So took it in front of the planning commission, and Beth, you were involved in this. So if there's anything I need to add to it, let me know. But so basically, let me see if I can pull this up. Yeah, it's not going to come up on the screen. Okay. So that's one item is, the setbacks. So in ARR, it's currently 100 feet, and in R3, which is 3 acres, it's 100 feet. The planning commission has kind of given their blessing. They've given their blessing to making a modification, right, Beth, to 50 feet. So this is just an introduction. We're not voting on it tonight, but that's one of the elements. Another one is accessory structures and uses, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to look at swimming pools is one of them. So there's a change in language on that. There's also a change in language for home occupations. And one is to allow 2 employees besides family members to have a home occupation. So you could have 2 employees. And also so the exterior of the house shall not be modified to give the appearance of a commercial enterprise. So no signage, so there would be like a commercial enterprise. But I think a lot of people probably realize that Highland Township has a tremendous number of people that operate out of their homes. And it seems a shame to kind of chase that away, especially the way things, with COVID and how that changed the way we do business. So that's basically the essence of this. So this is information only, introduction, and so there's no vote on that.
Yeah.
Vote to accept the introduction. Is that what the vote
And-
is, Jess?
I make a motion to introduce zoning amendment Z029. An ordinance to amend the Charter Township of Highland zoning ordinance.
Okay, that's the motion.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
So we're voting on introducing this?
Just
Introduce,
introduce.
okay, thank you.
So we have to have a second meeting.
Right.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item is resolution 23-18, the intent to form Peninsula Lake Special Assessment District. They're trying to put together, for years, they've collected money to weed kill their pond. And it's hard to get people to every year pony up for it. So they wanted to develop a special assessment. It's not a lake board like many of them are. So this is just township will put the amount recommended to the tax roll for those individuals. So there's a resolution. Somebody want to make a motion?
I would move to approve resolution 23-18. Tentatively determining intent to form the Peninsula Lake Special Assessment District.
Support Salvia.
Okay, moved and supported. Any other questions? Vote please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item is, I'm gonna let the treasurer handle that because it's all about her world. I'll second that. Okay, any questions?
So is that Jenny, is that the salary then that coordinates with that position? Is that where, or I'm sorry, the hourly or whatever you want to do, however you want to say it, but that's,
So the ad we put out was 25 to $29 to $30. Our leaving deputy is making 33.
okay.
So it's,
So that's right in line then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the reason for this is the treasurer is required by law to have a deputy. We cannot tell her who she can hire as deputy, but we can affect the pay scale. So that's why she has to ask. So we're gonna go for it. Chantel is doing a great job, and I think she looks good in that office too. That's important. To somebody. All right. So we made a motion. I second it. Vote please.
Mrs. Frederick,
yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Chantel.
And next time I will introduce our next, or we hired Wendy. So you guys gave me permission to have a committee and we searched and we hired Wendy Meritens and she's doing great. So there'll be a memo next time. I forgot.
I think in a year or so, maybe we'll have the entire library employee team over here. We have 3 people now that actually, 3 that one's a board member, but yeah, so they're, yep, we're looking forward to the whole process here. So next item is yeah, it can look a little convoluted, but there's a status change for, this is for the Highland Activity Center. Sherry Cicaluna has requested to be put to part-time. She's currently full-time. And Justin Lado, who is part-time, is being requested by Heidi to be put to full-time. So it's a flip-flop. So the request is for the board to approve the status change for Sherry to not exceed 29 hours per week. I'll make a motion on this just to move it forward. So my motion is to approve the status change for Sherry Cicaluna to part-time status not to exceed 29 hours per week at the hourly rate of $17.33. And doing with, oh, I'm sorry, she's currently at $17.30 to increase her hourly rate to $18.50. And then the second one is to approve the increase of hours for Justin Lado to full-time at 37.5 hours per week with an hourly rate of $19.50. August 14th, 2023.
Cooper, support.
Okay, any questions? Moved and supported. Vote please.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Ms. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Now the obligatory budget amendment. The rule is you approve your budget amendment before you spend. So
I would move to approve the budget amendment for the activity center wages as presented.
Support Lewis.
moved and supported, vote please.
Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item is mid-year wage adjustments for staff, and up front on stage is Tammy.
So, last year we approved our budget in the fall, not knowing what the total inflation rate was going to end up to be for last year, which was quite high. And so we approved a raise of 5% to begin January 1st. And then as the numbers got tallied up as far as inflation goes, we saw that inflation was close to 8%. And we would like to try to keep our staff at least up with inflation, seeing as how we don't have a particularly high pay scale here, and benefits have been reduced for anyone hired after 2016, and we need to be able to retain our staff. It's been tricky trying to figure out, what we can do to keep people here when there's jobs out there paying more than what we pay. And we've invested in our staff, and it would be in the best interest of the township to be able to keep them here. So I had spelled out a schedule of raises. It's basically 2.8% increase on top of where we ended up after the increases at the beginning of the year. Are there questions? Well, compounded comes out to be the same. Right. In addition to the increase, there's some miscellaneous little changes down in the last paragraph. Changing Laura Clee from part-time to seasonal. Noting that that we have 2 part-time people who have kind of more responsibility, bookkeeping's assistant and our supervisor's assistant. Both have advanced responsibility for their part-time status. So we put in a little extra for them. In the old days, it used to be thought of as part-time was just a way to bide your time until you could get in as full-time. It wasn't somebody who was planning to work indefinitely as a part-time position, but we've been lucky to find some people who are really interested in staying at part-time, and it suits our needs and it suits their needs well. But on the other hand, the benefits are really non-existent for our part-time. And in order to retain them, we really want to look at what we got to do to keep them here. So we thought it made sense to increase their hourly rate 5% for those kind of positions, because in lieu of the fact that they're not getting paid defined contribution like the full-timers are. And then across the board, we didn't want anybody left to be under $17 an hour after we get all said and done. So anybody after this calculation was ran, if they were under 17, we just brought them up.
Tammy, just a quick question. How do we compare with other townships in our size as far as the salaries for each position?
Right. So there was a study that was done by Brandon Township comparing salaries to their employees. Every township has staffed a little bit differently with a different kind of makeup. And it included some of our surrounding township. There's no perfect matching township to our population level and our tax base size, which are some of the kind of factors. We sort of fit in the middle of the group that was compared to. It's a real tricky thing. I can share that study with you if you like. but we're kind of in the middle. It's not particularly high. Part of that group was Addison Township, which is like 5,000 residents. So, you know, you can't really compare to all of them and say, oh, we should be that perfect, you know, right at matching that.
And job titles too aren't
Right.
same from one township to another.
And everybody's benefits are different.
So if you look at the spreadsheet that was included, the bottom line is the increase would be approximately $14,360. And I think what is kind of important to remember is that we always put away 10 grand to give out as bonuses. So if you factor in the 10,000 that we would normally put in for bonuses, it's only a $4,400 increase in to the bottom line. So I think it's a valuable statement to our employees and to the public to reward these employees for the way that they do work with our public. I mean, we had a couple people tonight that weren't happy with some things, but we have a population of almost 20,000 people, and I think we have one of the kinder, did you get that, Nancy? The kinder townships. He's engrossed. So anyways,
It's nice to see that the crossing guard salaries, if I'm pushing for that, that's good. They're up there. That's nice salary. It's those.
Well, and it's
It's
not,
it's crazy job, not crazy, but just crazy to be out there dealing with that traffic all the time and dealing with those, dealing with people driving and protecting those kids is so important. I'm glad to see that we're.
and it was something we never thought of. We just were paying them a wage.
Right.
But it is very dangerous out there.
Yes, it is.
And they come out twice a day for a half an hour.
I know.
So you have to increase that.
I agree. It's still not a lot of money for, I mean, only working basically an hour, but at least it's better than it was.
I'm-
You wanna make a motion on it?
No.
I make a motion to approve the mid-year wage adjustments for staff as presented.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any other questions on that or comments? All right, pardon me? All right. Vote, please.
All right, Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Sir Hal votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Miss Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
The obligatory budget amendment.
I move to approve the budget amendment for the mid-year wage adjustments for staff as
Yes.
presented.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Hal votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Miss Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
All right. Jack, we did not purposely put you at the end of this thing to torture you anymore, but we're getting there. Okay, the next item is 11 or resolution 23-19 to establish millage rates for the 2024 budget. I think Jenny, you want to handle this one?
This is just our millage rates that we'll use to produce the 2024 budget. And we're just approving, and they did not go down with the Headley Act this year because of inflation. There was no factor, so they stayed the same, except for the fire operating millage did go to the increase that was approved by the voters. I make a motion to approve resolution 23-19 to establish millage rates for 2024 budget.
Cooper,
Support, Lewis.
Okay, so moved and supported. I'd like to throw in a comment for those that don't know, but for general operating millage, 0.6 mils. More than 20 years at that, probably. So we're probably one of the few communities that has not raised their operating millage out of any of the supervisors that I meet with on a monthly basis. So
We were actually approved most likely for one, and we could be collecting 0.9 something as of now, and we only collect 0.6.
So what you see is, we're in a new township hall and we didn't go out for a millage. We paid cash. It was done, even though that 0.6 mils is probably about $600,000, which comes nowhere near paying for it. It pays about a third of the payroll, but we've been able to do other revenue resources that we can use to operate, and we've also saved money. So I'll take some kudos for that, not personally, but the whole board, so, and we haven't raised it. So, all right, vote on that, please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so the next item is resolution 23-20 declaring surplus property and accepting the offer to purchase therefore. It's vacant property located on the southeast corner of West Wardlow and North Hickory Ridge Roads in Highland Township. Somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the purchase.
Resolution 23-20.
Resolution 23-20.
All right, anybody want to support that?
Cooper, support.
Okay, moved and supported. What this does is allows us to, we've declared the property surplus. We put out for bids on the property, and we had one individual who's here in the audience today, Jack Law, as I know you, submitted an offer to purchase the property, and it's attached, the information's attached in the packet.
Oh, okay.
So want to thank you very much for putting that property to use. I think it's you. I know what you want to do, and it's. Pardon me.
Where are we talking? Southeast corner, what do we, board load?
Wardlow runs into Hickory Ridge.
Oh, that side. I'm on the Milford Road. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I'm on the Milford Road side. I got you. That's why I couldn't figure it out, but okay, good.
All right, so
Cool.
we had a
I
motion
read this. too.
and we had
Really good.
support,
Ready to vote?
and we're ready to vote.
Okay, Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes,
Motion carries.
it's real now.
Why was the deposit so small?
All right, the next item is budget amendment and for the annex building maintenance, which we're going to have to change the name of that on our in our accounting to Steeple Hall. So Steeple Hall and Annex are the same building at 205 West Livingston. So
I make a motion to approve the budget amendment for the annex building maintenance as presented.
Support.
moved and supported. Any questions? All right, vote please.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
All right,
Can I say something real quick before you adjourn?
sure.
I really like that. I've known Jack forever. When I first moved in, his brother Dave was my first friend in Milford. So that's not, I mean, nothing here or there, but I haven't seen Jack in quite a while, but I like when people come to the meetings when they're on the agenda. And I'd like to see moving forward. I really believe if somebody's getting promoted or somebody's getting hired, I think they should be here. I really do. I mean, it might be just for a short time, but I think it's kind of an important thing. They're getting a promotion or whatever, and we don't normally do that, but I just think it's nice that they should be at the meeting so we can recognize them. And what's that? Well, then so be it. But No, so be it. But I just think it's nice when community members come out. I mean, and they obviously come out for public comment if they're not happy with something or they're happy with something. Nice that, Jack did stay the whole meeting. I never intended to put him at the end. But I think it's just important that people are out here. I know it's maybe a little inconvenient, but they are getting promoted. They're getting, they might be getting a better salary, whatever, but I think it should be here to get their kudos because we're hiring them. Just something that I think of when it's nice when members do come out. I mean, Peter comes out, he has nothing else to do. So we're glad Peter showed up. So thanks, Peter.
This
You're
is Peter's
welcome.
entertainment for the week.
Yeah, well. And we're glad to see, it's always great to see Peter come out too. So that's good.
Besides, he likes when we look at his legs, I think.
It's
I have a
good.
question.
Well, I got the podium in front of me, luckily.
I have a question. The gentleman is having problem with the neighbor. What direction do we take on that?
Yeah, we're gonna have to, we can't discuss that right now.
Oh, okay. Will there be a direction? Okay.
There is a direction. All right. On that note, meeting adjourned.